Khan Younis in the Gaza Strip have transferred bodies into the morgue at Nasser Hospital Complex after Israel returned the bodies of 45 Palestinians to Gaza. The Hamas-run Health Ministry says this brings the total number of bodies handed over under the ongoing ceasefire deal to 270. The returns are part of an agreement brokered by US President Donald Trump, which stipulates that Israel will hand over 15 Palestinian bodies for every deceased Israeli returned. The exchange comes as both sides work to uphold the fragile ceasefire following weeks of deadly violence. Now, officials say the process is intended to promote humanitarian trust and pave the way for broader reconciliation efforts. And this is what Ahmed Dare, the head of the Health Ministry Committee in charge of receiving the prisoners' bodies, had to say.
وصل اليوم الجانب الآخر عبر اللجنة الدولية للصليب الأحمر عدد 45 جثمانا، والآن هي في طور الفحص، وبسبب عددها الكبير سيتم فحصها على يومين. اليوم سيتم فحص 30 جثمان إن شاء الله، و15 جثمان إن شاء الله يوم غد. لحتى هذه اللحظة 270 جثمانا. تم التعرف لحتى هذه اللحظة على أكثر من 77 جثمانا من هذا العدد.
We stay in West Asia for our next story, where in southern Lebanon, people are clearing the wreckage after a deadly Israeli airstrike hit the village of Dur near Latabia, according to Lebanon's health ministry. One person was killed and 7 others were wounded when the strike hit the center of the town. Footage from the scene showed destroyed vehicles and damaged shops as residents work to remove the debris and recover what's left. The incident comes amid escalating cross-border attacks between Israel and Hezbollah, which have intensified in recent weeks across southern Lebanon. Let's listen to some residents and what they had to say.
فيها يعني عدد بشري كثير قاعد سويت مدارس وعودتنا إسرائيل دائما يعني ما بتسأل لا عن مدني ولا عن.
Now we move over to Africa next, and Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan has been sworn in for a second term under tight security. The inauguration took place at a military parade ground in Dodoma instead of a public stadium as in the previous years it had done. The ceremony was closed to the public but broadcast live on state television. Now Samia was declared the winner with 98% of the vote, according to reports. She faced limited opposition after several rival candidates were either detained or prevented from taking part in the poll. Let's take a listen in to the new Tanzanian president.
Ndugu zangu wote tunaitakia mema nchi hii, tumesikitishwa na kuhuzunishwa na matukio ya uvunjifu wa amani, upotevu wa maisha na uharibifu wa mali za umma na mali za watu binafsi kwenye baadhi ya maeneo hapa nchini, hasa kwenye majiji na miji. Kilichotokea hakiendani na taswira na sifa za Kitanzania na sio Utanzania. Haikutushangaza kuona kuwa baadhi ya vijana waliokamatwa kutokana na kadhia hiyo wametoka nje ya Tanzania. Vyombo vyetu vya ulinzi na usalama vinaendelea kufuatilia na kuchunguza kwa undani zaidi kilichotokea na kuirudisha nchi katika hali tuliyoizoea kwa haraka.
Meanwhile, international observers have expressed concerns about the transparency of the election and the violence that followed. Reports indicate hundreds of people may have been killed during the unrest, with observer groups also pointing out that authorities have downplayed the extent of the violence as the country continues to restrict access to information. Now we move on to a different crisis facing the African continent. We move to Sudan, where in the Darfur region, survivors are recounting the chaos that followed the fall of al-Fasher to the rapid support forces as thousands fled under heavy fire. Displaced residents in Tawiyala camp described scenes of panic as gunfire from all directions hit civilians, while some recalled that they had never heard such intense shooting before. Many civilians say they were robbed by RSF fighters as they escaped, losing their money and phones. According to the United Nations, more than 36,000 people have fled towns and villages across the Kordofan region as fighting spreads across the east of Darfur. The RSF, which has been battling the Sudanese army for the last year, now claims to be massing along a new front line, raising fears of more displacement and violence ahead. Let's take a listen into what some of the survivors had to say.
والله يعني أنا كنت نايم والصباح يعني طبعا فجأة استفاجأت في أول يوم يعني كان في تدوين مكثف شديد يعني ما حصل مرة يعني التدوين ده حصل في حاجة يعني الحين ده من الصباح الساعة 3 ولا الساعة 4 صباح كان بلدنا يعني جاءت كثير تدوين ما عرفنا حاجة يعني كل الناس يعني
يلا في نفس زمننا اللي احنا ماشيين فيه ده في بين داخلية الرشيد واحنا ده ما شفت له جثة هنا لكن تدوين ده فيه قدامنا ورانا ده موجود. بدأنا لقينا يلا في السير بتاعنا في أثناء السير لقينا طبعا الدعم السريع موجودين في الشارع. جبت تليفون